Was there any sign of what was to come at that point, or not at all, in terms of painting or slight abstraction or any of those sniffs of any what was to come, or not?
Not really. Not really. I mean, I liked Picasso's work, and I liked a lot of. I've been to London to the art gallery a couple of times from the college, and I was interested in it. But of course, in those days, I wasn't really thinking of myself becoming an artist as a career. I mean, we did a lot of things in those days. There were so many things I was interested in that art wasn't really a priority. It wasn't one of the most important things. Besides, my dad kept telling me, "You're not going to make a living as an artist." So that kind of put the kibosh on thinking about making a living as an artist.
If everyone thinks of the 60s and being in Liverpool in the 60s, your first thought is towards sort of counterculture and revolutions, sexual revolutions, swinging 60s. What sense of that did you get? Any?
Oh, of course, the 60s was incredible. I mean, there was, I don't know, but I mean, people who lived in the 60s, we call it the good old days, no police around, no problems, it was freedom. You did what you want. A very enlightened bunch.
The actual sort of the revolution in that time was, I guess, in the mid 60s, was sort of just before you left for Canada.
Yeah.
That was where I guess things changed. Do you remember feeling a change in cultural attitudes or artistic attitudes, or was it gradual, or to you was it just the same thing going on?
Yeah, I think it was in Liverpool, particularly in Liverpool. There was not many people who thought of politics. You know what I mean? Politics was all the South and London and what was going on down there. Liverpool was basically just having a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, what kid at 17, 18 doesn't want to just have a good time? I mean,
it's true.
No time to think of anything else, really. I was busy. I was busy as a badger anyway. Every weekend we were going. Derek, my friend, and I would go into North Wales, and we'd go down all the mine shafts. We'd bottom all the mine shafts with electron ladders and ropes. And so we used to map out all the different mines in North Wales, and so this was part of a hobby, but it was also we took it on almost like a weekend job, and we ended up finding all kinds of different mine shafts. There had been gold mines and copper mines that had been extinct for many years, So one time. We got called up because we were a member of the North Wales rescue team. And what happened was these two kids, had disappeared from home, and they'd laid sort of evidence that they'd either fallen down a mine shaft or gone into it somehow. So they called us up, and me and Derek were the only ones who had the maps, because we'd made maps of all the different mines and where the trails lead to at the bottom. So there was miles and miles of underground passageways that they could have got lost in, these kids. So we were there, and they had like 500 military guys there that were helping look for these two kids, right? So me and Derek were directing them which way to go, which mine shafts to go down, which entrances to go into, to try and look for these kids, right? And their parents were there, the kids' parents were there, and everything. It was on television. Oh, it's crazy. And anyway, what happened was these little buggers had laid false trails, and then they went down to London.
Oh.
They hitchhiked to London, and there they were in London having a great time,
Oh, God, that's awful.
Can you imagine?
That's terrible.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say we felt like real chumps.
I hope they did at some point, but who knows?
Oh, I think they got punished. Yeah, they were definitely chastised a lot.
That's quite amazing. So it started as did you join a society?
Started as a hobby. We did caving since I was about, I guess, 11 years of age. And then from there, it just ended up us going every weekend, So we'd go to North Wales. We'd also go up to Ingleton where, you know, in Yorkshire, where they have the largest pot in the world is a gaping gill,
Wow.
which has got you could throw, when you get to the bottom of it, it's like 500 foot down. They drop you down on a winch. And then at the bottom, there's like tunnels and rivers. And you could throw a baseball from the middle of it and not hit any of the walls. That's how big it is underneath.
Oh, wow.
Check it out.
I am. I'm checking it out now. That is enormous. Where did this interest come from? Do you remember why caving?
From the YMCA. Started at the YMCA when they had a club there, a climbing club, and so we used to go up to the north. We used to go to Scaffold Pike. We go up there to the it used to be, I guess it was the Lake District area, and then we'd go climbing, rock climbing, and from that, we discovered all kinds of interesting caves, and we used to go in them, and you know, sometimes we'd stay in overnight. We went in one Christmas time, and we stayed in 3 days down. Oh no, 5 days. We stayed down. We took food and everything, and we took a bunch of guys with us. So there was like 8 of us, me leading it, and Derek coming up the back, rearing. We went in there for 5 days. We went in, it was gorgeous sunshine. We came out, it was like 3 foot of snow. Well, the deepest pot in the world is in the French Pyrenees. It's called the Pied Saint Martin or something. Not sure the exact name, but that goes down deeper than any pothole in the world, something like a mile or more down underground. The difference between a pothole and a cave is potholes, you don't just walk in. You need tons and tons of electron ladders because you've got shafts. Some of the shafts go down 200 or 300 feet. I went down one. It was a 500-foot drop, and you actually have to climb down that on laddering and re-hook the ladder to the wall every 50 or 60 feet, you know, to stop it from carrying all the way down, you know. Some of the things you see in these, like we saw types of fish in these streams under the ground. Never seen anything like them. They're not like, they were transparent, you know, like totally different looking fish, yeah. And I mean, we went down, one of the mine shafts we went into in Wales, it was supposed to be 1,000 foot down, right? The mine shaft, straight down. So we got all this laddering and everything and got down. And halfway down, there's a bloody car wedged. An old Ford is wedged in the damned, just sitting there, wedged. So we climbed into the seats, totally brand new car. It had 12 miles on the clock. And we sat there looking at it and thinking, what the hell? And we found out later it had been stolen from a place in Wales, Angles, what's the name of it? Wrexham. Stolen from Wrexham, driven to this little village and then dumped over the top of this shaft.
For some reason, who knows why, yeah.
Well, they obviously didn't want to be caught and they didn't want any evidence left, I guess. I don't know. So there it was, right at the, I mean, I couldn't believe it, you know. And on the top of it, of course, was all these carcasses of lambs and sheep and everything that had fallen in over the past 50 or 60 years, you know what I mean? Well,
I was going to say, there wasn't a dead body lying on the back seat.
No,
like that, no.
We almost were ready to find that. We thought there might be, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
We did see dead bodies once.
Oh.
And that was in a flood. One of the potholes got flooded in the Lake District area. It was called the Marble Steps. And what happens is it can flood. It doesn't look like it's going to flood, but it floods at lower levels, and then it can flood at a higher level, but the lower level isn't flooded. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's like vacuums, areas. And anyway, these kids got trapped. And if they'd have stayed where they were, because they had plenty of space to breathe and everything, anyway, they tried to get out, and they got into a flood, and they drowned. And we ended up having to go down and drag them out with a couple of the fire brigade up there and everything, you know. That was a bad time. They're dangerous. Some potholes are very dangerous, you know.
So you were pretty much at the. It sounds like you're pretty much at the top of your game in that field with you and Derek, some
Well, we
sort
did
of
it
expert.
for many years. Yeah, we've sort of, I guess, 10 years, just about nearly 10 years doing it. You know.
So coming back to the Liverpool School of Art,
Right.
let's cover the period between, say, graduating and then you're off to Canada for reasons we shall discover very soon. But so start from graduation.
Well, when I graduated, I was told that London, there'd be lots of jobs in London, right? So I ended up going to London looking for a job as a designer, silversmith designer.
Yeah.
But I found out there's like hundreds of people looking for the same jobs and everything else. And that was when I decided to basically just, travel a bit. And that's probably when I got the idea I may as well leave the country. And, it's like leaving the sinking ship when there's no jobs to have,
Was it a bad time? Is that why, do you think? Or was
it was a bad time for jobs, yeah.
Was it? So
well, you know why? You get thousands and thousands of kids leaving college at the same time. And there's only so many jobs, So it became a bit of a rat race, I mean, the possibility you could get a job if you were top of the line or whatever, usually, though, it's if you know somebody,
Yeah.
Especially in London, someone's father or uncle or someone, or you have to wait till someone dies.
There wasn't any snobism coming from the north, coming down to London. None of that. Did you feel any of that?
No. I felt it a little bit, but not much.
And so you graduated. Did they have like firsts and seconds back those days? Did you graduate with honours, or how do they rate it, or you
no,
graduate?
With the degree you just got. I got a degree in industrial design.
Yeah.
NDD. It was called National Diploma in Industrial Design.
Yeah.
There was no such a thing as honours, or at least I don't. Not in our degree anyway. So I mean, it was sort of. I mean, I'd worked summers and done things. I'd done all kinds of jobs, so I wasn't worried about not being able to get a job. I was willing to do anything. Not just designing. I would have done anything.
And so there you are in London. So you went to London, or you?
I went to London. Yeah.
To stay.
I spent 4 days there. My friend lived in London, so I stayed at his place. Yeah. And then every day I'd go out looking for jobs, different places. And I got a few people saying, "Oh, very interesting. I'll get in touch." But nobody did. Nobody did get in touch. So in the end, I decided that was it.
And so, where do we get from London to Canada? How does that?
Oh well, I didn't care where I went. I would have gone anywhere. I was looked at Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, and Canada. And I went to the immigration office in Liverpool, and they showed us all these little movies, little movies of different places. And they showed me all these different clips of different places. And the one they showed of Vancouver was showing Grouse Mountain, and then it scanned down right to a beach on Stanley Park, Third Beach. And I said, that's where I'm going.
Yep. Wow. So just an intuitive choice, and you saw these images.
Interested in work. I wasn't really interested in working straight away anyway. I just wanted to get out of Liverpool,
And you had some money.
Travel was my most interesting thing. Travel,
Yeah, which is still the case.
It's still the case. Never ended, the travel, of course. That's I guess it's an addiction.
Yeah. And and you decide to go to Canada. I guess the choice, it sounds like it was all the colonies, basically. Yeah.
Australia would have paid my trip, and so would have South Africa, and New Zealand was half pay. They half pay your trip. But Canada didn't have an option. So I had to basically pay my own way. And, it didn't cost that much, actually. It was about £100 for the boat trip. And my mum gave me some money she'd been saving in a family allowance. So I had another £100, which I blew in 2 or 3 days in Vancouver when I got here.
So that was about, what did you graduated in sort of